Michael coming to you from Bleedene, Latvia. I'm actually here in the room that we use for our open assembly for our Bible camp here in Bleedene School. And today our lesson or the theme is faith in God's timing. And we're talking about how Joseph had to wait in the Lord's time when the Lord's purpose would be fulfilled in his life. For those who don't know the story about Joseph, when Joseph was 17, he had two dreams, that in the dreams he felt that he was going to be a leader and that actually his family would acknowledge him as a leader. Of course, Joseph tells this to his family and they look at him and think, no way, this is ever going to happen. In fact, his brothers get really jealous of him because his father treats him differently from the rest of the brothers. And the result is his brothers sell him to slavery into Egypt, and Joseph is in Egypt for many years getting, let's say, a string of bad situations, being falsely accused of this, being put in prison. But then in God's perfect timing, he gets out of prison and actually ends up in the palace of Pharaoh. And today we learn how in God's timing, he's now put in position of power, which is when the dream came true. I think about when the Lord called me to Latvia. It was in 2007 when I was in New York City in December doing a Christmas tour, how the Lord began to impress on me Eastern Europe. And I kept thinking, why Eastern Europe? What's in Eastern Europe? And then he got more Pacific, it's going to be Latvia. And again, where's Latvia, And, these visions, these impressions, prophecy, it's the best way I can describe it, that I would be in a place that was international, that I would hear different languages. And I wrote many of this stuff down in my journal and just thought, well, how is this going to happen? So 10 years later, 2017, I live in a land where I hear many different languages, not just Latvian or English, but Norwegian and Swedish and Russian and, or go to different countries like Albania and Slovakia and Bulgaria that, speaks different languages. And I just realized, that vision, those impression, that prophecy that God gave me 10 years ago is coming to pass in his perfect timing. I wasn't quite ready for this kind of ministry 10 years ago. I had to go through a lot of growth in that time. And yet, here I am 10 years later. I mean, there's many times I just sit here and shake my head and think, only you, Lord. Never in my wildest dream did I ever think this would ever happen or be. Maybe some of you, God's given you a purpose, all of us have a purpose, but a specific purpose meant for you. Or he's spoken to you, or maybe a word of prophecy was given over you, and you're wondering, is this going to come to pass? When will it come to pass? So forth and so on. The thing about God is he cannot lie. If he has said something to you, it will happen in his timing. When I look at my life before the Lord transitioned me from being a musician to a musicianary, he prepared me by allowing me going through times of testings and trials. Just like Joseph, he was trained up in this season of being falsely accused, of being sold, of being put in prison, even though he was innocent. In the Psalms, it said that the Lord used this to train him, to prepare him. And when I look at my own life and see some of the situations that I've gone through that were not pleasant, that were terribly painful, and yet I look back today, 2017, and look back and go, oh wow, the last 12, 13, 14 years, I'm amazed that what the Lord used during that time, and that in his perfect time, the plan that he revealed to me is now coming to pass. So anyway, so I'm just going on. Anyway, I hope you have a good day today, wherever you're at. Take care. God bless.